And I'm just in charge of admission, so, okay.
I'm going to start recording now. We're right at 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to hit admit all. And then Joyce, you'll watch for other admittance after that. Okay? They're flooding in. All right, so I am muting everyone at this moment. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the designated outdoor refreshment areas. We've got a couple of panelists here with us today who are going to run through how their programs have been set up. We have Jeff Payne from Downtown Middletown, Inc., Matt Eisenbrun from also from Downtown Middletown, and he's the Economic Development Coordinator there. We have Debbie Dranchek, who's a co-owner at White Dog Distilling. And then we also have Anina Perini, who's the executive director for the Worthington Partnership in Worthington, Ohio. So Worthington and Middletown have vastly different Dora areas set up in their downtowns, and so we kind of wanted to hear from both of them. Just a little commercial for Heritage Ohio. You can go to our website, which is heritageohio.org, and join our mailing list. So if you're interested in future webinars and other meetings of this type, then we send out weekly e-blasts to our email list. So feel free to join our email list. If you have a community who is interested in starting in downtown revitalization, you can give me a call or an email. All of my contact information is online. I'm Frances Jo Hamilton, the Director of Revitalization for Heritage Ohio. So you can find me there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about downtown revitalization. So at this point, I'm going to lob it over to Matt in Middletown and Jeff, and they are going to just run through a quick PowerPoint to give you some basics. What I'd like for you all to do is make sure that you are muted. I have muted everyone on my end right now. But you can unmute yourself. So make sure that you're remaining muted. And if you have questions for our panelists, please type them in the chat box. And then I will read those questions, and our panelists will be able to unmute themselves and answer those questions directly to you. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Matt and Jeff.
There we go. I think I'm on. I think Jeff is on. My name is Matt Eisenbrun. I'm with the City of Middletown, and I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to talk with you about our Dora. We've got a great dynamic Dora. We got a great partnership with Downtown Middletown, Inc. That kind of facilitates the Dora for us. And again, we're just very excited for all the things that it brings to our downtown area. So I will switch to driving the PowerPoint, and Jeff, I believe, is going to narrate it. Are you on there, Jeff? Jeff, are you able to? Well, we're having some technical difficulties.
I think he's muted.
He is muted, and that's because he came in. All right, now Jeff, give it a shot.
Okay, you can hear me?
I can hear you. We have two different lines on you, and so I had unmuted the wrong one. So I will now switch to the PowerPoint.
No problem. All right, let's switch to the PowerPoint, and we'll get going. Okay, this is on our designated outdoor refreshment area, also called the Dora. Go ahead, Matt. Next slide. This is a picture of our logo. We call it Drink and Stroll. We use our door as part of our marketing effort for downtown. Our door is actually under our Economic Restructuring Committee. And go ahead to the next slide, Matt. We established the door in November of 2015, following the, in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code, section 4301.82. Initially, our door was for the hours of operation from 6 to midnight on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. In 2018, we changed the effective hours. Actually, through a study working with our Dora businesses, we changed the effective hours of the door and expanded the area. The new hours are now noon to midnight, Sunday through Saturday. And as I said earlier, it included a minor expansion of the area boundary. Next slide, please. The way our door works is that we require wristbands be worn by all our visitors. It allows you access into the door, that you can go from business to business with the wristband. Only need to purchase one for that particular day or evening. We have district boundaries demarcated by signage. Our official door cup, and you'll get to see that, is a 16-ounce cup, and all beverages carried outside or in between businesses must be in a door cup. We also have each business to display a placard indicating whether or not a door beverage is allowed or if it's not allowed, as well as those businesses that sell door beverages. Cups from one establishment cannot be taken into another drinking establishment. But if you wanted to go into, say, a restaurant that did not have a liquor license, you could bring and they are accepting doors. You could go in, take your beverage with you, eat, and then leave. You cannot bring your own alcoholic beverages into the district. Next slide. This is an illustration of our door map. We have roughly 16 liquor establishments in our door area. Not all are up and running, but as the map shows, though, we take in all of those establishments, about 24 acres. Go ahead, Matt. This is our official wristband. Now, the colors may vary. We basically have each wristband is numbered. So when a liquor establishment comes in to purchase the wristbands, we actually register that sequence of numbers or wristbands that were purchased. The smallest quantity that we will sell wristbands is in quantities of 10. Next slide. This is our door cup. It has our logo on the front, and on the back of the cup, we have the actual door rules written. Some of the businesses will actually write a date on there or even put their own a stamp for their business or initial it with their business name. Next one. This is an example of our signage. It tells you when you are leaving the district that's the boundary. Next one, please. These are the decals that are part of our operating policy. If you are a bar or a restaurant that sells, that's a part of the beverage sales, you'll have yes, Dora beverages sold. If you're a business that is a non-alcohol selling business and you do not want to have foreign participants coming in, you can use the placard that says no. And if you're a business that's non-alcoholic, and you would like to welcome Dora guests, then you use that third one there on the right. Next one, please. The legislation also requires that you have a sanitation plan to maintain cleanliness. So we do have that. And as well, we also have a safety patrol, a safety plan, whereby we work with the Middletown Police Department to patrol the district and enforce the rules. One more slide, Ben. Because we want to make sure that that our efforts are sustainable, we have established a separate Dora fund for wristbands and cup sales. Cup sales are sold to the participating businesses at cost, at our cost. And then the wristbands, which are $1 a piece, are also held by DMI, but there is a Dora business subcommittee that meets quarterly, and part of their work is to talk about ways to promote the Dora. They have the ability to make decisions on whether to expend some of the Dora funds for various efforts and activities. And then we're a strong partnership organization, DMI, and so we have a partnership with the Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, the city, and of course, BMI. And I might point out that the Visitors Bureau was very much instrumental in assisting us. In fact, in order for us to start up our new marketing program, they provided those seed funds. Next slide. And so, as Joe pointed out, on our webinar today is myself, Debbie Dranchak, who is a co-owner of White Dog Distillery, Monica Nini and Mel Katura are owners of West Central Wine. I'm not sure if they were able to get in or not, and Matt Eisenbrand. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, Jeff, so I have a few questions that were directed toward Middletown and how things have been working there. So one of the questions was, with the COVID-19, are the rules being loosened for communities who would like to adopt a Dora more efficiently? Have you heard anything about that, or any of the panelists about getting a Dora in place? Have those restrictions been loosened at this point?
Well, at this point, first of all, let me state that when we work very closely with our health department, and one of the things that we did in order to assist with the COVID-19 is we we asked that if it need be, our Dora could be suspended during that time frame. So we're actually waiting to hear back from the health department on when we will see our Dora reestablished.
Okay.
For the most part, it has not really been a big issue. What we're finding, or at least what I'm finding, some of the businesses have discussed the possibility of maybe placing some picnic tables on the outside of their establishment where there is space available. And that way, some customers who are waiting can then utilize those locations. A lot of businesses already have some outdoor seating. Of course, we have public open space in our downtown area as well. So at this point, we really haven't had an opportunity to see what will be the relative impact of COVID-19 on our Dora.
All right, so another question, who pays for the extra trash and security costs?
Matt, you want to talk about that a little bit?
The city, for the most part, is taking that part of it on as part of its normal contracting. just by working with the police department. We've been able to cover any issues that have come up. Police department at times may send down extra patrols, but we also, again, because of our relationship with DMI and supporting the events and such, if there is a need for extra patrols and things, that's typically put into the plan ahead of time. I think we've had a really good fortuitous situation. We've taken advantage of the Dora. We were the first Dora in Ohio. We moved on it very quickly when the opportunity became there. And that is really how we approached it when Jeff mentioned that we sat down after a couple of years and came up with the wristbands. Initially, we did not have wristbands. We didn't have cups. It was a little different system. But what we found after 2 years and 2 seasons of Dora participation, that there just wasn't enough issues to make us keep a firm hand on it. So we loosened up things, and again, with the partnerships and the wristbands and new cups and new methodology, I think it's worked out very, very well. We've had very few reports of any issues with the Dora, and again, I think that's the way we approach it. Unless there is a problem, we're not going to adjust too much. From a sanitation perspective, that was one area that has come up. An increased amount of trash in a couple of particular areas, and I think our way of addressing that was to put additional trash cans down there and then increase the number of times that they were emptied specifically. And I think we're still really settling into that. We've had 1 season now with the wristbands, and we had a couple of other adjustments in our downtown area, mainly through a school, Cincinnati State's campus down there. So working with them and talking to people, we've really been able to overcome any issues that we have there. And I would just add in on the opening up from the COVID side of things. The last feedback we've gotten from our health department is they are wanting to sit down and plan out a rollout of the opening of the Dora in precise, I guess, or close relationship to what the governor is going to be doing with opening the stay-at-home orders. So as those roll back, when it's the appropriate time to open up the Dora, we're going to do that. And again, we're also going to facilitate that with a number of additional tables, benches, things like that, that will move into the downtown area to support people being able to maintain social distancing.
Okay, I have a few questions that have come in. Have any of the communities that are on that have had a Dora, have you had community members that were against the program?
You broke up there a little bit. It sounded like were there members that were not supportive of the Dora and such. I would say there overall has been no one that has opposed the Dora itself. It was a value add-on, and as we were beginning to redevelop our downtown, again, it was one of those things that we wanted to jump on very quickly. We've also layered in an entertainment district. We've also layered in a few other incentives from a redevelopment standpoint. So it's working together. We did have some pushback when we moved to a $1 charge, and we saw a lot of other Doras going to $1 a cup or a fee per cup and those kind of things, and that didn't necessarily work for us. And so we spent a few months talking through a process where we can reach middle ground. And I think our answer was terrific. The $1 charge 1 time a day with the wristband, and basically, again, just facilitating the cups at cost. So we're actually going to lower the cost of doing operations if we can buy 20 or 30,000 cups at a time and everybody's using our cups. So from a business standpoint, it's made sense. There was some hesitation on that move, but I think our committee and meeting and seeing how things have gone has shown that that's going to be of value. And the commitment from the committee was to use all of the funds generated. And last year, that ended up being about $7,000, give or take, will be put back into marketing the Dora. And again, getting back to the core idea that we want to bring people into our downtown and help them see all of the different activities and adventures and entertainment that they can participate in. So that was the only kickback, but I think we've moved on from there, and it's going very well.
Joe, it's Nina with Worthington. I think what communities who are looking to enact a Dora should think about when they first approach their municipality is to try to reach out and partner with any drug-free organizations in their town. We did get a little pushback from when we first proposed it from Drug Free Worthington, just because they're against anything that promotes alcohol usage. And that was a misstep on our part because we didn't foresee that happening. So I just want to share that information that if you can talk to them about the successes in other communities, we feel like, particularly at some of our large events, it actually reduces over imbibing because people are getting a drink and then walking around rather than bellying up to a bar and having multiple drinks in a short period of time. So I think if you make those kinds of proactive connections, you'll reduce any kind of public outcry when you're trying to do this.
And Joe, let me just add, when we do our promotional events, we see that the Dora is an added enhancement. We do a lot of family-friendly related events, and mom and dad sometimes want to, even when they bring the kids, they'll step over and get a beverage and walk around. So I would agree that it's allowed for a nice mix, and we've not seen any real unsettling issues come up behavior-wise or anything like that. And we've had some fairly large events in the past, and the Dora has just sort of been an added enhancement.
So Jeff,
Let me jump in there real quick too, if I could. I should go back and say, when we first started the Dora, we did have a couple questions come from churches that were in the district. Good communication, sitting down, explaining the plan. And again, we've had no real issues since then. So that a good point. I apologize for that. There were a couple of churches.
Yeah.
and as far as the cups, Jeff, can you share with us how much you pay per cup? And are each of the businesses specifically branding their cups so that the law enforcement knows exactly where that beverage came from?
No, what we do is our cups, we have one cup, it's a uniform. We don't have any individual business branding them unless they wish to. They're biodegradable. We charge basically 9.5 cents per cup because that's what we purchased them at. The supplier, we buy them in bulk. I think our first order was 23 boxes or 23,000 cups because that is a special printing. And essentially, we leave it up to the business. If they want to pass that charge along in their beverage, that's fine. If not, they will, I guess they'll eat it or absorb it. And I don't know if, Debbie, you might want to speak to that.
Hey, Jeff, Monica here. I'm just tuning in also. I guess we're on the topic of us, and I just caught your question.
Yeah, you want to speak on that?
Yeah. Hey, so we found that the cups that we were purchasing were costing about the same as the cost of the cups that we were already eating the cost on. So for us, it was just a matter of continuing to wash that cost to the customers.
At some point, again, you can drive down the cost. When we get to a point of buying 50,000 cups in the next couple of years, then our cup cost will actually go below what most of the facilities have to buy cups for. Now, you can get free ones for beer, but then you're advertising Miller or Budweiser or whoever. In this case, we're trying to use that money and filter it back in to, again, drive it down to reduce costs of participation and hopefully on the end up saving some money for somebody.
Yeah.
In Worthington,
it's nice to have the branded cup that is, promotes the Dora and shows ours specifically show the directions for participating in the Dora, such as where to find the boundary lines, what times, those sort of things. Are you allowed back in or out of the restaurant? So there's a liability that we were able to cover by having all of that on our cups.
In Worthington, we had the issue of the establishments wanted to control their own cups, but the law enforcement wanted to be able to tell where each cup came from. So we developed a sticker system. So we have color-coded stickers that the police keep track of. So the dark green cup that has the dark green, or the cup that has the dark green label on it, they know that that came from Old Bag of Nails, for example. So if someone was causing trouble or appeared to be overserved, you could tell by the cup that they're carrying where they got that, at least their last drink. So that's how we figured it out. So the establishments keep track of their own cups. They order whatever plastic cups they want, because some of our higher end places wanted different sized wine cups, you know, a little bit higher quality plastic cups. So they wanted to keep track of that. And then we buy the colored labels and then just pass the costs along to the establishments.
Has anyone considered using a reusable, like a steel cup that visitors could bring back at each visit?
Health department concerns.
We
Has
were
to be
under the
washed.
impression that it could not be done. This is Michael Finland from New Richmond, Ohio, and we just established a Dora here in our village. But in reading the regulations, we found that it appears that they require a clear type cup.
Yeah, it
And
does
that
say it has to
eliminated
be
the
plastic.
idea of a solid cup or reusable cup, which is what we originally had thought of.
I think a lot of the concern, at least we heard from our community over not being able to use something that's reusable or something of that nature, is that they were concerned about, you know, the recyclability and that sort of thing. So we actually chose compostable plastic that is supposed to, well, it's not plastic, it's a plant-based plastic that is supposed to break down over time. So we're not filling landfills with our all of our cups.
Do you have public compostable receptacles though?
We should.
Well, that
That's
I
something
get
we're
it.
working
No,
on.
trust me. Everyone's
It's
like,
something
why
we're
doesn't
working
everybody use compostable stuff? I'm like, because there's nowhere to compost it
Mhm.
publicly. But it does look good.
Well, and my business partner made a point that it's not using petroleum products, and that's at least a step in the right direction.
For sure, for sure.
So Nina, can you speak a little bit about your Dora and using it for special events, and how having a regular schedule for the Dora has maybe been helpful, or how it has affected your special events at which you would normally sell alcohol?
Sure. So in Worthington, we asked for a Dora, and we were the first small community to enact it when that legislation changed for communities under 35,000. And we did it for two reasons. One, for, like Joe said, the events, major events, it's a lot easier to have folks be able to mingle throughout the downtown. But one of the major reasons we looked into it is because our historic district has a really small right of way. So a lot of our establishments weren't able to have outdoor seating because of the law that you have to have a contiguous fence around your patio seating. So we were looking for sort of a loophole to get out around that, so that we could have tables just in the right of way and serve alcohol. So that was kind of one of the other drivers for our Dora. So we established it for that purpose, to allow a few of our restaurants to take advantage of that. The other thing is we're a super small historic district, and we don't have side streets where we can, you know, close off one and have like an alcohol area. We're right on High Street, north of Columbus. And so we wanted to have a big festival where we closed down High Street, but we didn't want to have to, you know, put a fence up around the entire neighborhood, which we did once. And then we figured out that the Dora was going to change, so we could redo it with that new legislation. So we were able to get the city to agree, and they were really wonderful on helping us through the process. So unfortunately, yesterday we just canceled that big festival. It's called Picnic with a Partnership, and we lined High Street with seating for 500 people, and we just had to cancel it. So now who knows what the future looks like for big events, right?
Right.
Yep.
So speaking
Absolutely.
of big events and in the downtown, for any of our panelists today, do you envision your Dora simultaneously supporting your downtown businesses as well as the phased social distancing that will be required for most of the summer? And if so, how?
Well, I think we'll probably approach the city about, so we don't have like a true sip and stroll. We only have a sip and stroll during those limited events. So we have a first Wednesday where they allow it. We have a chocolate walk where they allow it. The picnic. So it's just a select time where you can get a beer, get a beverage and walk around with it. Now, you can get a beverage and take it outside and sit in front of an establishment that sold it to you, but technically you're not really allowed to stroll around on an average day. I'm going to approach the city and see if they'll loosen those rules because of what you just said, that we're not all going to be able to be in a bar together for a while. So maybe the city will loosen it. They're loosening everything right now. I think most cities are going to do anything they can to help these businesses. So I'm hoping to take advantage of that flexibility these days to expand our Dora operation hours.
In
I
all
guess
honesty, what we are looking to do is, I think we're going to kind of take a wait and see to find out what the health department is proposing and suggesting, and then begin to move from there. But Monica, you were going to say something.
Oh yeah, just piggybacking on that, and something that we've been talking about between us and haven't really had a chance to discuss with Jackie at the health department or anyone else, is how are they going to take away businesses' ability to do carry out drinks now? Now those you are required to take home. You're not allowed to enjoy those in the downtown in the way that the Dora is set up. But what kind of future effects is that going to have on carry out drinks?
Yeah, I'm not sure any of us know the answer to that, Monica.
They'd be hard pressed to take it away from some
Yes.
of these businesses that are really being more able to bring in revenue because of this stream. So we'll have to figure that out. But I'd be surprised if they took it away. I guess I wouldn't be surprised, but they shouldn't.
Jeff, so can you, or Nina, either one, can you all talk about the added insurance liability, those kinds of considerations when it came to putting your Dora in place?
Well,
Extra insurance coverage?
The only time we really needed to have liability insurance is when we've held either a First Friday event or some sort of event that we were sponsoring where we needed a special event to be provided. So other than that, we've not had to provide any additional insurance.
And you were carrying that special event insurance anyway, right? It wasn't anything different that you had to do because of the Dora?
That's correct. Nothing different.
Right. I did have another question about why you added the wristband and what the benefit of the wristband is.
Well, I guess when we went through the process, because we spent probably about 4 months working with the businesses to get an understanding that to just have the system the way it was, where there was really no uniformity. You really couldn't distinguish between what was a Dora cup, what wasn't, and that we saw this as an opportunity to market our downtown and help also to promote, our businesses. So going through this process, we looked, as Matt said, we looked at a lot of iterations, and this one seemed to be the one that made the most sense. And we were originally looking at, okay, can we charge so much for a cup? And that really seemed to get a lot of pushback. And as we allowed the group to discuss things, the idea of the wristband actually was presented by one of the businesses that was involved in that discussion. And so when we looked at it, it seemed to make a lot of sense. One, it gives us an easy way of counting how many people actually use our Dora. People can make some real projections on how many people come to an event, but you really know once you sell the wristbands. The other thing is, it's not only just the businesses that can sell the wristbands, but we've sold them for special events. For example, Middletown has a strong tradition of high school alumnus. So last year we had a number of different alumni classes come to us and want to purchase 100, 200 wristbands for their high school or alumni event. It gives us the opportunity to sell the wristbands to the hotels, and that they can make that a part of, say, their sleeping or accommodation package for their guests. So it just gave us a lot more flexibility to generate more revenue.
So I had a question from Kent. If your organization is selling alcoholic beverages at a public event, does the Dora have a negative impact on proceeds you would gain? Someone can buy a beer at a bar and bring it into your event and therefore not buy a beer from you.
Yeah,
Nina,
we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just responded on the chat, but yeah, that is an issue. We shot ourselves in the foot by establishing the Dora and lost thousands of dollars of profit. We were okay with that for a couple of years until some of our costs went up and the event wasn't making as much money as we wanted. So we got a beer truck, and there was some miscommunication with some of the establishments, and they were mad at us for the beer truck, because now you can have an F permit inside a Dora. So that is something that changed in the last few years. So we were able to get the Rheingeist truck to come to our picnic and sell into the whole Dora, so they are able to mix and mingle. But it does take proceeds away from your establishment. So you just have to have an agreement with all the participating liquor establishments that, hey, this is a fundraiser for us. We're gonna bring a beer truck or whatever you want to do, and just have that agreement. Yeah, it's an issue, right, for sure.
We have we have a couple of major fundraising events. One is our Women Wine and Chocolate Walk, and we're still looking for a date possibly to do that this year. But other than, say, an event like that, our approach has been, when we do an event, we really want to encourage our visitors who come downtown to get their beverages at the existing businesses. I mean, that's sort of been our total focus, has been, when you come to downtown Middletown, because we are a very walkable community, we want you to not only participate in our event, but also to shop with the various businesses that are down there. So now there was one organization that was doing every 6 events during the year, and they were doing that where they would rope off the area, that kind of thing. And then when the change in the Dora legislation came about that allowed that sort of blending, they did experience some loss in income.
So one of the questions is, I was told that smaller cities that are below the recommended minimum city population to establish a Dora zone can still get a Dora zone established if they have specific sponsors. So sponsors are businesses within the zone that have liquor licenses. Would you talk more about that? Anybody know?
Not something I'm familiar with.
I'm not familiar.
I thought it was, and I'm definitely not 100% up on the new legislation, but I thought it was just under 35,000. Is there a minimum? Is that what they think?
I'm not sure.
Because we're only like 14,000.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, Nina. I'm not seeing an auxiliary comment to that. So Jeff, any idea how Hamilton was able to keep their Dora open, but Middletown wasn't during this shutdown
Well,
time?
we did inquire about that, and our understanding, which kind of speaks to one of our other objectives, which is to bring more housing downtown. But there's a brewery that is located in their Dora, and they have some housing there in a very close proximity. And so it's our understanding that they kept their Dora open because they wanted to allow for the people that lived in this newer housing to be able to access that brewery. So that was what was shared with us, and we accepted that. I think when we talked with the health department, one of their concerns was safe distancing, and a lot of our businesses, what we were told was we had people that were kind of congregating more along the entrances to the businesses, because it might rain and there might be some covering there. And so I think as more of a precautionary type of situation, that was why we shut down our Dora.
How many establishments are serving Dora beverages? And this could go to Nina or to Jeff, either one. And then maybe having the couple of business owners that we have on to kind of talk about your average revenue and how the Dora has either helped your business or otherwise.
I'll say we have 16 liquor permit holders. We have some fairly active and heavy users. Monica and Mel at West Central, along with White Dog, they're probably some of our more heavier users. And then we have some who are just for, limited occasions. So we get a wide array. But I'll let Monica and Mel or Debbie, you guys could speak to that, the other part of that question. I think Mel's talking. Unmute Mel.
Maybe they had to pop off. Who knows?
I would.
Okay,
I'll just jump in real quick. Oh, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I think White Dog does not have a patio. We don't have a patio. So any of the outdoor activities, instead of taking drinks on the patios, those are maybe why we're more high volume users. I think we didn't really take advantage of the Dora leading up to when the health department shut it down in downtown Middletown. It was just too early. We didn't feel comfortable doing it. We didn't know, we've erred on the side of caution, I think, every step of the way. I would, though, welcome back the opportunity to figure out how that's going to work with, social distancing, holidays, things like that,
Yeah, let me say, just from the health department standpoint, with the last 90 days in the COVID, we are very specifically working closely with the health department. So we over an overabundance of caution went in that direction. I would just say, to the question of helping individual businesses and those kind of things, that's an important concept to keep in front of the discussion as you are sitting down as a group. If you're thinking about starting one as compared to how you're using one that exists now, it's why are you doing the Dora? Is it to build the overall district, or is it to help individual businesses? Because it's a huge concept that has to be talked through, because you don't approach it the same way. And again, we're trying to look at the district as a whole. What can we do to reward those folks who came down to downtown Middletown to experience all the things that we have? How can we facilitate that? And that does not necessarily have the same impact that approaching it for business by business. Yes, and that was one of the discussions that went on. If you have dollar beer night and you're charging $1 for a wristband, you've just doubled the cost. And that's actually how we got to the wristbands as compared to cups. On dollar beer night, you are doubling the cost of every drink if it's $1 a cup. And so the middle ground was the wristband. So that's hugely important to talk through all those things. Why are you doing the Dora? What are the goals? And in the end, what else are you going to do to supplement the work you're doing to support the Dora? For an example, we are about to stand up, when we open back up, we're about to stand up free Wi-Fi in downtown. We'll think about how those things interact. We're now going to be able to take everyone who comes into downtown, grab their information, and have that. So as much as we can do to bring anybody to downtown for any reason, we want to supplement that. And now we're going to go back around and start marketing directly to those folks. You came down for XYZ event in July. We want to let you know that the Christmas walk is going to happen in December. You're a family. We see your demographics. So it's really, what are you using all of this for, and making sure that goal is kept out there in front of how everybody's doing their operations. It won't affect everybody equally.
So the one big question that seems to be filtering through multiple times here is, for instance, you have a small diner who serves burgers and soft drinks. Someone can grab a beverage from an alcohol establishment and potentially go into that establishment and drink their beer in an establishment that does not already serve alcohol. Have you had any issues with having beverages coming into non-alcohol establishments, and how has that transfer been working?
I can say that from a Main Street perspective, I have heard of hardly any issues. I mean, you have to remember that at any point in time, if a non-alcohol serving establishment decides they want to stop that practice, they can do that. Yeah. But for the most part, we've found that it's been very well received because then they're another part of the selection of food menus for visitors. And again, like I said, for example, on our first Fridays, we have a number of restaurants that they do not serve alcohol, but you will see, say, a family come in and they want to do some family dining, and one or two of the adults wants to bring their beverage in, and it just helps to accommodate that choice for eating. So it's actually worked out quite well.
I think it works out all the time. I mean, we've the Don's Pizza 2 doors down doesn't have a liquor license. You know, people can bring their pizza in here. They can come here for drinks and bring them over there. It's a very...
And we have a positive business relationship with our neighbor as a result of our ability to sort of share customers back and forth as well. I think, you know, as with most things, it's what you make of it. And so if you have those strong neighborly relationships.
And I think unsanctioned drinks coming in, people who are finishing their Dora, there is, you know, little incident. And if it is, it's usually an honest mistake, and everyone is, oh, I'm sorry, and then moving on. It's not a problem, you know.
But I will say that our clear to identify cups help, because I have had people who've come into our establishment with drinks from another establishment that aren't using the cups, and they're very easy to identify. One, that those other businesses are not using the sanctioned cup, and two, that someone else's liquor isn't coming into my establishment. So those are things that have been really important for us in sort of monitoring where things are going.
Yeah, we've had some really fun collaborations too, where our coffee shop that doesn't have a liquor license advertises, hey, buy your coffee here, then walk down the street to Half Pint and buy a shot of Jameson's and put it in your coffee and then walk around.
We
So-
don't make coffee for that same exact reason.
Yeah, it's been fun to see those.
Bring it back here.
Yeah,
Now, the
it's
problem for
fun.
us is that we don't have the interchangeable cups. So if they bring their coffee down here and get a shot in their coffee, they can't leave with that coffee. So
Right.
that's just, one of the
Yeah.
limitations.
So let's see, we have about 10 minutes left together. If anyone has any lingering questions, please put them into the chat box. One of the things that I wanted to ask is if each of you had one piece of advice, what would you give to a community who's working on implementing Adora now?
Well,
Communicate.
Go ahead, Matt.
I would just say communicate all the team members. I think that's hugely important. The city, the sponsors, the organization, sit down and just talk through it. That's the most important thing. It's not too difficult, and as long as everyone's an adult, you don't have too many problems with the program. It's a nice way to say, hey, we trust our people.
Great.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, when we went through our process, one of the things that was important to me was to make sure that we would ensure that everyone had a voice, had an opportunity to share. And so sometimes you can't just do that maybe in one meeting. It may take a couple more meetings to get all the conversation, all the points across, and then a way to address that. But then once you reached a resolution, then just go ahead and move forward with that. And so communication, like Matt said, is really important.
Nina, any advice for anyone looking at Adora?
I think it's been said. Yeah, I think getting your establishments on board and like what Matt said, establishing the goals, why you want to be doing this. There's so many great success stories now for you to follow. Reach out to those communities, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'll give you my letter to the city. I'm sure everyone was happy to share their PowerPoints that they presented at council. I think we helped another community with a letter from one of our bar owners supporting the Dora. So he was happy to send, your pal Ian was happy to send a letter up to Amy and have her submit that to their city. So reach out. We're all here to help. We've done it. We're successful. We have great success stories. I know everyone would be happy to help.
And I really, go ahead, girls. Do you have something to add, Monica?
Yeah, I would say consistency is one of the things. A lot of misinformation at first. Oh, we can bring drinks out. So you need to have a message, and you got to make sure everybody who's spreading that message has a consistent message. And then that message is written down and posted with another message talking about, just be uber consistent. Like, no. And don't be afraid to correct people. Like, yeah, that's kind of what's happening, but, and then, there's a bit of education piece at the beginning for sure. But people get it for the most part now. It's only taken a few years. It's okay.
We're also strong communicators to our users, and I think it's a responsibility of each of the liquor license holders to say, we know the rules, we're willing to share the rules with our customers and make sure that they're all using it in the proper way. So I think you really have to make sure that everyone knows how your particular Dora is formed and be able to share that with customers.
Debbie, are you still on? I think we might have lost Debbie through the process. Are you still there, Debbie?
I'm still here.
Any piece of advice that you would give to new potential Dora communities?
I think we've had we've not had any problem, and we've had all good people coming in, especially on events. I mean, people want to stroll around, and they've all obeyed the rules. Of course, we have a little note on our front door to kind of remind them, don't, bring a cup in. But for the, I mean, yeah, for the most part, we haven't had any problems. And we always, we keep plenty of wristbands and cups on hand. And I don't know how many we sold last year. Not really a whole lot. I mean, we still have some left from last year. Probably more wristbands than anything. But I'm all for the door. I wish they would open it back up, because I definitely think right now it's going to help the businesses where we can't get a lot of people in our establishments. We have a 40 capacity of 49. So even if they cut us in half, there's not a lot of room. So I think I wish they would bring the door back. But other than that, last year was our first year to experience it, and I thought it was great. I love it.
Great.
I mean,
I was just looking at the chat. There was something about, did you see an increase in revenue from before the Dora to after the Dora? And I would say that we saw a difference in revenue on Dora nights where there were events after things changed and we were allowed to sell Dora drinks on event nights where there were special permits. That is one thing I will say that we saw a difference in revenue on.
because our Dora was
Because our
not
Dora,
open.
yeah, Dora was already in Middletown when we bought our liquor license, but it was something that drew us to downtown Middletown, the ability to get this entertainment district liquor license and to be in this district and really be a part of seeing the Dora grow. So we can't really speak to before that, but opening it up on, on special
They
event
used to,
permit nights.
it was canceled on special events nights. If there was a special events permit in the park or on the street, they would sort of suspend the Dora, and that's changed in the last year. And we did see,
We really,
yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I don't like to keep people over time, but I would like to say it's been really great hearing from our business owners. I do have a little list of questions still that I might send out. So if your question did not get answered, please feel free to send me a little email with an auxiliary question. I'm happy to send those out to any of our panelists and get those things answered for you. I really appreciate participation from Worthington and from Middletown. You know, every Dora is set up differently in your home communities. You all have a lot of control locally when it comes to setting up a Dora. So when it looks, whether it looks like a 365 days a year or a seasonal, or are we holding Dora only events, event specific, or is it a Dora an outdoor refreshment area every day of the week, 7 days a week? Those are all things that you can decide on a local basis. I think Matt's point to really thinking about why are we implementing the Dora? What goal are we hoping to meet in bringing that to our community, and then making sure that those conversations are happening amongst everyone in the community and answering those concerns. I think that we've seen a lot of communities implement Doras, and really, even as a Dora user myself, when I go to those communities, I haven't seen any problems, and I think it sounds pretty much across the board that issues have pretty much been something that we braced ourselves for in this implementation of new, regulations in our communities, but that those things have not actually been realized, that that you can put a Dora in your community, and especially right now it might be super helpful to your businesses. So thanks so much everyone for joining. Please go to heritageohio.org, join our mailing list, become a member of Heritage Ohio. We are a nonprofit organization bringing these things to you across the state on a monthly basis, and I just appreciate all of our speakers today. Thanks so much, and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.